everyone for joining this webinar. In my role at Frontiers as Head of Editorial Ethics and Quality Assurance, I lead various projects internally to ensure quality and integrity, and I work closely with our indexing and auditing teams in particular. I'm also involved externally with the International Committee on Publication Ethics, known as COPE, as an elected council member, and I am chair of their paper mill working group as well. For my part of this webinar, I will touch on the use of artificial intelligence in publishing with the current do's and don'ts on where and how to use artificial intelligence, also from the author's side, as well as the editors and publishers' perspectives. I start here by showing you the overall distribution and the global reach of all the views and downloads of papers published by Frontiers. We're extremely proud, and I hope you are too, of our Open Science program. And to me, this really demonstrates the power of research that is open for all, with all the availability of information and data that this brings, and also the scrutiny that this allows as well for public feedback, and also the opportunity to listen to the communities and protect the scientific archives. So in this particularly important right now to have this open science and all of this, especially with the rise of scientific fraud, which has been to a certain extent also aided in the last year with the increased use of artificial intelligence. Especially with large language models, it becomes even more important for peer-reviewed research in science to be openly available, to be used to train all the AI on absolutely validated content and trustworthy content. With our open science platform, Frontiers is really a strong participant in this AI revolution. I'll talk you through now what the main uses of AI-generated content are in publishing at this point, and what regulations and guidelines have been put in place at the industry level to address the use of AI. When we talk about AI-generated content in the context of publishing, there are different users and tools from the point of view of authors, of editors and reviewers, and of publishers as well. So from the author's side, they and you as author can use AI to generate the hypothesis of research, to potentially select the methods, create articles and figures from scratch, and obviously write the whole text of manuscripts as well. For editors and reviewers, there is the possibility to use AI to generate review reports. You can use AI tools also to make quality and integrity checks. For example, similarity checks with tools like Authenticate, detecting potential conflicts of interest with connection of data, and finding reviewers for articles. From the publisher side, there are a lot of workflow improvements for processing manuscripts that can happen with AI, to coordinate sending the right email at the right time, to make the right proposals to potential reviewers and editors, to do checks during peer review to complement the work from the reviewer and the editor, checking, for example, for image manipulation, problematic citations. And on top of this, there's the possibility to use AI to make decisions on acceptance or rejection of manuscripts. So concerns over all of these points have been raised since the big rise in generative AI tools in the last years, and many international publication ethics committees have released guidelines to help everyone address these issues. We're all now using AI tools one way or another, and they can be incredibly useful and powerful for generating content. At this point, their use has to really be practiced with care, and new regulations are an ongoing discussion around the world. All highlight so far that human expertise remains essential for responsibility and judgment, so that all of this can benefit research, peer review, and publishing. I will share the guidance from 4 international committees and associations that I recommend you consult for information and also share with your colleagues. First is STM, the Association of Scientific, Technical, and Medical Publishers. Frontiers is a member of STM and collaborates with them in several working groups and on their Integrity Hub, where they are creating tools to support publishers with integrity checks. Then there is WAMI, the World Association for Medical Editors, that provides recommendations for editors on various topics. And now they released a specific guidance on the use of chatbots and generative AI that I'll touch on in the next slides. There is also EASE, the European Association of Science Editors. They just released a very thorough set of recommendations on the use of AI in scholarly communication. And fourth, there's the Committee on Publication Ethics, COPE, of which Frontiers is also a member. And as I mentioned, I chair their paper mill working group. COPE is really the committee that provides guidance on integrity and ethics in publishing and supports publishers a lot in maintaining high standards. Publishers do need to meet a certain level of integrity criteria to be able to gain membership to the Committee on Publication Ethics and to be able to retain it as well. If we first look at guidance provided for the use of AI by authors, what can you as authors or authors submitting to your journals use AI for? STM has a thorough and very clear set of recommendations in their practical guide for the use of generative AI. And their summary table is highlighted here. So authors can use AI as support tools to refine, edit, and format manuscripts. And in those cases, there's no disclosure necessary. They can typically use it to also analyze results or potentially create figures based on whether this is acceptable or not for individual journals or publishers. And this would then require disclosure of how the AI was used for what. And often there's a request from journals to share the codes or the prompts that were used with the AI as supplementary data. This is also something that is allowed at Frontiers. What authors should not do is use AI to create or manipulate research data and results. And they also should not credit the AI tool as an author. This last point of the non-eligibility of AI as an author was flagged by the Committee on Publication Ethics in a position statement early in February 2023. It made clear that AI cannot be credited as an author on scholarly papers, as AI is just not a legal entity that can meet authorship criteria of responsibility and accountability for research. The position statement requests authors to also disclose the use of AI transparently and to be specific about what AI was used for in the methods or acknowledgement section. The majority of publishers released afterwards their own specific requirements, all following these recommendations. So for example, you can see here at Frontiers, we added a clear section on the use of AI by authors on the main author guidelines pages and the public pages. We do permit authors to use AI to write papers as long as it is transparently disclosed which tool was used for what, and again, with AI used acknowledged, but not listed as an author. There's obviously a lot of discussion around the generation of full papers by AI. My colleague Elena will talk in detail afterwards about tools and manual verification we do in-house to try to find and reject fake papers because they tend to have other various signals that we can pick up on. But currently trying to detect if a text has been written by AI is something that even the creators of ChatGPTs and other tools, they cannot do with any sufficient level of accuracy. So the focus at Frontiers and with all of these associations I just mentioned is on promoting transparency and accountability, making sure that any use of AI is disclosed and making it clear that if a paper is written by AI and it is not properly disclosed, then publishers and you as editors have an obligation to reject the work. Now, if we go beyond authors to editors and reviewers, can you and your reviewers use AI during peer review? And when I talk about AI here, I mean AI as in the use of chatbots and generative AI, ChatGPT, and so on. Because we do use AI for IRA, which will be presented by Elena later on, which are different tools of artificial intelligence. So when you edit or review a paper with Frontiers or other publishers, you can upload the paper to an external artificial intelligence tool and ask it to do the review and prepare a report. But is that allowed? Here we turn to WAMI and EASE, who have provided clear recommendations that editors and reviewers should not do this. They should review journal policies about this, and generally it will be written in the policies that they should not be using AI to generate review reports. The ethical issues in using these tools to review papers are with regards to accountability and accuracy. The large language models are not intelligent per se. They will put strings of words together. And while in many cases they appear to understand and grasp some concepts well, and in some cases it is true, they are language generators. They're not a peer who can think through concepts and context to do peer review as such. So therefore, the comments generated by AI can be very inaccurate, and they will regularly cite fictitious references and come up with random text. So there is also, in addition to this concern about the validity of what is created by the AI, there's the concern of a breach of confidentiality if you upload a manuscript that is not yet published to a generative AI, because it will, in most cases, ingest and use this data and add it to its database of content. So this was a very needed aspect to cover by WAMI and EASE. And after they released their guidance, Frontiers also quickly added guidelines on this on our public guidelines pages. You can see here a screenshot for reference, where we mention clearly that AI cannot be used to review, in the sense that you cannot upload text to a generative AI to get a review report. And we also mentioned that decision-making by AI cannot be done for decisions on acceptance and rejection. This remains the responsibility of editors. Which allows us to segue nicely now into where do journals and publishers use AI, or where are they allowed to, now that we went through the do's and don'ts for authors and reviewers. So COPE again published a discussion document on the use of AI tools in publishing, specifically about what kind of decisions AI is allowed to make or not. I authored this document with COPE back in 2021, before the spread of all the large language models and AI chatbots, as already at the time, many publishers were experimenting with AI, like Frontiers. Frontiers is IRA. We started 8 years ago and using other types of AI tools, and we were really a pioneer of using this for integrity tools and peer review. And knowing that Frontiers and others were working on these tools, there was a clear need already at the time to think ahead and anticipate the spread of these tools. The first thing that's covered in this document was the distinction between AI and automation. I think this concept is clearer nowadays, with automation being really a rules-based software that takes you down a decision tree, whereas AI refers to technology that can really learn and replicate a level of human-like intelligence to create responses and return information. Overall, the core recommendation here is that AI should not make any final decisions on manuscripts to accept or reject, but AI can assist during the course of peer review, for example, with similarity check, helping to find expert reviewers, detecting image manipulation. These are all very valid tools that are all made as recommendations for humans, such as journal managers, you as editors, reviewers, to be able to validate these recommendations. There should also be monitoring and auditing of the results from the AI. And the document also urged transparency on where AI is used in publishing processes, and if any biases are known or detected, that these limitations be made clear and attempts be made to correct them as well. Associations like COPE and STM have not only been producing guidance for authors, editors, and publishers, as I presented, but they're also coming together to work with publishers like Frontiers and many others to ensure industry-level collaboration, so that the use, or I should say the misuse, of artificial intelligence and other tools is monitored and regulated. There is fraud, fake research, fake articles, fake peer review that should be addressed in strategies across publishers, as these really are not targeting individual journals or programs. It's really seen across publishers. Frontiers is a member of all of these organizations, and I'll show you two highlights. One is our collaboration with STM in their Integrity Hub, where we're looking for a unified approach to research integrity. The hub applies certain integrity checks on papers from a broad range of publishers, so we can put information shared between publishers to a certain extent, gathering information and improving checks between this collaborative approach. So we're also, two of the checks that they propose is one about duplication of submissions between different journals, and one is also about paper mail patterns in particular. Beyond the practical involvement in the hub with several journals, Frontiers also participates in the STM paper mail working group, and I'm chair of their group on guest edited collections as well, where we will release documentation on how to perform integrity checks and audits on special issues very soon. Finally, last point for me, I wanted to point to this other key initiative for industry-wide work against fraud called the United to Act Against Paper Mail Initiative. This is a joint project from COPE and STM, working to address the challenge of paper mails in scholarly publishing. There are 5 main subgroups aiming to provide resources for research on research, education, post-publication corrections and retractions, and to facilitate the dialogue between stakeholders. And that includes institutions and funders in various countries where the pressure is the strongest on researchers to publish or perish, which has been demonstrated to be a high trigger for misconduct and the use of paper mails. So this is how things have been evolving in publishing with regards to the use of artificial intelligence. It's certainly not a stagnant space. The take-home messages from me, you need a super short summaries. Authors can use AI to help write papers or create figures. This should all be disclosed and acknowledged, otherwise editors can reject, and AI cannot be held accountable as an author. As editors and reviewers, you should not be uploading manuscript to chatbots and AI tools to get review reports. This breaches confidentiality, and frankly, you're more likely to spend more time validating what the AI wrote than actually doing the review yourself at this point. And finally, publishers cannot let AI make any final decisions on manuscripts to accept or reject. And they should be transparent about where and how AI is used in their publishing process, and actively trying to deal with any biases that are there.